welcome back to another episode of Reeeal Talk, episode number 34. Woof! Great episode last week, I thought, of a great transparency moment again. Steve, how's your week been?
My week's been fantastic.
Haven't seen you in a while, man. You always say fantastic.
Ooh.
Can you say another term?
Fantastic.
No, it's just like the casual one-word answer. I've been getting some feedback. And people said that the way we start off our show, they don't like the way that it's just one-word answer.
There's not a single comment.
There is. I promise you that not a.
There's no comments.
See, he doesn't even read comments. We actually been getting comments too.
I know but we ain't get those comments.
They say it's cringeworthy. You need to start saying more things than one-word answer.
Said it's cringeworthy.
Regardless of who said
it's
it.
Definitely your wife who said it.
Regardless of who said it, a viewer and a subscriber said it. So can you stop just answering one word? All right?
Hey,
so,
Brittany.
Steve.
Hey, chill out up there, all right? I know it's you. I know what you say these things. Brittany is Jack's wife, and I know she's the one that's saying it.
Anyways,
cringeworthy though, for real.
So hopefully,
I am extremely delighted.
Thank you.
For being here today. I mean, my week has been absolutely awesome.
Good. How does it feel to be, 34 episodes into this?
I think it's great. It shows devotion. Me, I'm a person that enjoys watching devotion. I don't like part-time things. I like devoted people.
You like seeing something that a person's going to be here, even if it's only one or two people at church in the pews, you're going to be there.
It's been my life.
Heard. Well,
I'm there every Sunday doing what I got to do.
Yeah, he may not come when you want him, but he'll be right there on time.
Devotion. I think that at 34 episodes, I mean, a lot of times people quit because they don't get the followers, they don't get this, they're not getting the results. Their mind has entertained these big dreams, these big visions.
Yeah, definitely.
And they don't
definitely thought we would have more about
the
that.
hard work behind things that are required to move something, especially of this caliber, because it's like we're talking about things that are not as
exciting.
Yeah,
it's not itching the ears.
Right.
I bet you
it's not popular, quote unquote. It's not like the traditional ways or the traditional method of.
We've been selling some red blood of Jesus handkerchiefs or something. Maybe we'll get Peter popping off. So, all right. Listen, if you haven't watched episode 33 yet, do us a favor. Stop this video. Go make sure you go check out episode 33. In episode 33, we discussed the life of a first lady. It was part 1. Our guest here again today, who was here with us last week, is First Lady Foreman or Reeeal Foreman. We'll figure out which one you like to be called by the end of this episode.
Reeeal Foreman.
Okay. We will give you a chance to speak and talk. But anyways, we addressed in episode 33 really briefly about how just walking through some of your experiences. We went through the term, the things that you've experienced from some services and meetings, how you were treated before you became a first lady. And for anybody who's kind of still unfamiliar with the term, and you didn't follow the directions and watch episode 33, it's basically, it's a term that came from First Lady of the United States. It's now known as FLOTUS, to rhyme with POTUS. And you basically take that position and move it into the church. We know it's not anything biblical, but we do understand that it could still be utilized to be something fruitful depending upon how you utilize that. And so with that being said, last week we didn't talk about something that I want to start off with, and then we can work our way through some more questions and thoughts. What I wanted to address and ask you was, I want you to walk us through how you became saved and then how you became a first lady.
Okay, how I became saved was freshman year of high school. My mom passed away, so I moved in with my aunt. and my cousin and her husband was going to this church, and I just started going to this church.
What's the name of that church, by the way?
Christ Crusade Assembly.
Okay.
CCA.
CCA. Shout out Glenn and Purdy.
I believe so that was my freshman year. The following year, I believe a week after my birthday, I got saved here at the church.
Freshman year still, or sophomore year?
Sophomore year.
Ooh, early
Got
in the
saved.
faith. Okay.
In church, I just felt led. I felt lost because my mom was gone. I was seeking for something, and what I found was Jesus.
That's very interesting, considering you hear so many stories of the opposite, right? And you hear so many people blaming God for certain tragedies and things like that, and especially you being a woman, not having a woman there for you would definitely make you probably want to go the opposite way, and yet your mindset sought to go to church and cling to God. So that's
honestly, every time I explain this to somebody, I don't know. I didn't blame them. I didn't blame them at all. I think the first coping mechanism in my mind that helped me, I guess, with the death of my mom was I was just like, okay, she's just going on a trip for a long time, and then just going to church and just learning about the Bible. I wanted him in my heart, and I honestly could say, like, I had no hatred towards God, saying, like, why that never came off my lips. I never said that.
So when did you start really dealing with the fact of the reality? Because it seems like you said that you started off just saying, like, I know she's just gone on a long trip. Was it after you accepted Christ?
After I accepted Christ and understanding, people dying, people going to heaven. I remember one time sitting at my cousin's house, and I remember being in the kitchen before we were getting ready for church, and I asked her, I was like, I don't know if my mom received Christ in her life. I mean, I know she got baptized when she was younger, but I don't know as an adult or before she died, did she accept God in her life? She was like, we won't know, and that didn't frustrate me. It was just like, I don't know if my mom is in heaven or not, and it just kind of like, I don't know. I just think God's spirit really helped me be at peace with it. So from there on, it's just like, okay, she's gone,
Okay. So let's speed up several years down the road, and
I'm sorry.
So how did we get to? How did we get to?
Right.
Being
Really, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
a first lady. How did that become to be?
I was in the church, courted, and then I married.
You
Why is you stuttering? Why are you stuttering?
Steve was a pastor at that time in the church, and we courted and we got married. And that's how I became, I guess, the first lady. Because he was a pastor already.
Okay, let's back up for a second. All right. So we have this eligible bachelor pastor. All right, and did God lay it upon your heart to talk to this guy, or did the eligible bachelor pastor?
Yo, what is this? Romance 101?
I'm just trying to figure out how did she become a first lady?
She said it. She married me, and then that's it. That's it.
Okay. Let me ask you this: was it ever in your mindset to?
With a goal.
Yeah, was there ever a goal? Obviously, not to be a first lady, because you probably didn't even know what that term was. Did you even know what it was before you became?
Yeah. I mean, throughout, growing up, I went to my grandmother's church, Seventh-day Adventist. Of course, they call them, first ladies.
Seventh-day Adventist, they call them that.
And then I went to church off and on, my Aunt Baptist Church, Hopewell Baptist Church, and so I was familiar with it. I was in church, off and on, so I knew what a first lady, I guess, was. I knew it was the pastor's wife, and they called her first lady and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay,
so you knew what it was, and did it ever cross your mind, like, as you got engaged, like, I'm gonna be a first lady? Was there any excitement about it, or was it just like, no, I'm just gonna marry Joe Schmo?
There was no excitement about it. It was.
Was there some hesitancy, like, I do not want to be no first lady?
It was not like a heavy resentment. It was like, oh shoot, this is what is attached to him.
All right, you probably asked him like once or twice, like, so you're not gonna step down off this? All right, cool.
But I just knew that, okay, this is attached to him. This is what I have to get ready for. This is attached to him, so, and I want to marry him, so.
I like that. The more any good, host or interviewer, they build off of, statements off what people say. You said you knew that this was something that you had to get ready for. So in your midst of being engaged and things like that, did you?
What did I do to get ready? Absolutely nothing. Other than pray. I didn't like.
Well, my question was, what made you feel like you weren't ready to be a first lady?
Because I was young. I was young. At that time, I might have been maybe 4 years saved or something. So no, I'm not. Anyway, 4 years saved. So I was like, I don't know,
man.
exactly what this title entails.
Did you feel like you were comparing yourself to any other women or previous?
What I've seen.
Okay.
I've seen.
That's what I wanted to get to, because you're like, man, I'm not ready. I got to get ready for this. It just makes you think, like, so what is your standard going? What is the standard in your mind that's making you feel like, okay, this is the standard. I ain't ready. I'm not there yet.
I felt like, well, of course they were like all like older women, so I'm like, okay, they got me on age, and it just felt like they had this like.
Oh, wait a minute, sister. Wait a minute. Time out. They got me on age. Are you telling me that you felt like that there were some people in the church potentially upset that they didn't get eligible bachelor pastor?
They were. They were.
So they were looking at you like the lady who's only 4 years saved in the game gets this guy, but I've been laboring for 20+ years.
I don't know what they was thinking, but yeah, that's what their eyes looked like they was thinking.
Yowzers, the perspective. I don't have any of these, but just to hear that,
so
that's.
I would like to make some disclaimers. I wasn't just out here just like, I'm about to get the pass. I wasn't like. I was the exact opposite. I was not like trying to flaunt anything or being flirty. That was not me.
And
I
that's
put that out there. I wasn't.
Probably why he gravitated. He was like, the rest of you,
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, though, that the marriage counseling that we went through before we got married, helped to shape our relationship and understanding that once we say I do, how you and I saw each other as husband and wife being in the church?
Definitely.
And how did that help?
The different things we would discuss, basically the foundation between me and you of how we would handle everyday life versus like church life, what comes first, in church. Basically having that communication and that agreement together helped me navigate, being by his side in the church. Honestly, it did. Because I had no...
Not as a first lady, but as the wife of the pastor.
Because I had no help.
Yeah, well, nobody wanted to give it to you, being that you got the prize in the Cracker Jack box, and you was only 4 years in the game.
But you had some that, it was just like that brush over help. It wasn't like, I don't know, I think they were scared, or maybe they didn't agree with it, so therefore they didn't put out their hands to help. And then the ones that did put out their hands to help, I was very hesitant because I didn't want to be molded into what they thought I should be.
Got you. So last time we talked about anytime somebody is a minority in something, it's very difficult for them to find identity in something, right? And that's like the number one thing and push for a person. Do you feel like becoming the pastor's wife, first lady, did and I'm basing off of this question from like the counseling stuff with Steve. Did you ever feel like Pastor Steve stripped or kind of suppressed anything with your womanhood or first lady role or title?
I would say no.
Do you feel like the aura of him being a pastor stripped down your role or title of being a woman or a wife or a first lady? Like him being known as Pastor Steve, did that strip anything or devalue you as a woman?
No, I wouldn't say it stripped anything or devalued anything. He was already like known out there, you know, in the organization. Like he just knew people. So of course people knew him first before they knew me for years, you know, before they knew me. So I mean, that's reasonable to know that, you know, people are going to address him and know him more because they knew him before me. I don't believe it didn't strip me or anything like that. He's a big personality, so.
Well, and that's why I brought this up, right? Because most of the time when you see people, they tend to try to exemplify something that, you know, maybe that they didn't have, or something got suppressed by maybe parent, husband, whatever case may be. So when they get the opportunity, and I'm not saying all, but most, then, you know, and Steve already being a pastor and then having a big type of personality type, did, you know, it feel like, you know, I really didn't have the place really much to be this like first lady because he had this overpowering type of personality type?
No, because anything that I do, he encourages me to go out there and do it. That is who he is. That's his character. He's that big personality. I'm not that way. I'm more low key, you know, play in the backfield. More of a like one-on-one person. He's more of out in front of the people, and I'm okay with that. He doesn't suppress me in that way because he's always encouraging me. If, you know, you want to do it, go ahead and do it and stuff like that. So I would say no.
Steve, we were talking a little bit off the air before we came on to episode 34. Do you want to revisit the conversation and how it ties into maybe this idea of like first lady in regards to wanting to see the beauty of something, but maybe out of that something may have been distorted or maybe causing a distraction?
So my goal, and my wife can chime in and correct me or whatever, but I think she'll agree with me. My goal has always been, I love womanhood. I believe the power of a woman is an absolute amazing thing. I'm not saying it in a bad way.
Wait, no, you said I love women.
No, I didn't say I love women. I said womanhood. I only love one woman. That one right there.
Sure do. Her right here.
But I love womanhood. I love the idea. I love the creation of womanhood. And what breaks my heart when it comes to anything that I stand up for is that when I see the beauty of it being marred by the personification of something else to make it assume that that's what womanhood is, particularly what we're talking about in the subject of First Lady, it bothers me because even though the role of a First Lady can be used for something good, the element of its creation still provides a perverted or distorted image of womanhood because it's something that was created by someone for a different purpose than the purpose of womanhood. You with me?
So what do you think the purpose of the First Lady in the church in its creation was for?
For empowerment, for the ideology of it, where it comes from, which is the ideology of the First Lady of the States, you know, was to give her a platform. And so her platform, because the husband, the president, needs to have a powerful woman at his side. That image had to be there. And that's all about America. The American image, a powerful image. Every icon about America is a powerful image because we want to be known as being powerful. Why is it then that a woman has to be in a position to be known as being powerful? That's what bothers me, is because just her role in the creation of God is absolutely powerful. Who a woman is and her creation and makeup is designed automatically to be powerful. And when we read the Bible, we see powerful demonstrations of womanhood that are without the titles of something else. You understand?
I understand. Do you feel as though because that's not talked about enough or preached about enough that people have to go and find these other sources so they get this empowerment from this because, well, they're talking about it more over here, even if it may not be all biblical, we can still try to find a way to tie something in there.
But you're always going to have that faulty or marred image because it's not rooted or it's not planted on good ground. It's not established in its right element. So womanhood won't grow organically because it's not being planted in the right ground, which is the biblical ground. Unfortunately, we've had horrible male leaders in the church. We have had horrible leaders as men in homes who have marred and abused womanhood. And I get that. I can't change that in the sense of it's happened. But what I don't want, to your point, is that now the minority, because of the abuses, they now have to resurrect some other idea or some other entity to give them value. But it's a faulty value. And I don't like that because you're not going to be empowered into your fullness because it's not in good ground. It's not in the biblical ground. Sure, for a moment, it may give some good, but the long term of it, it's going to be distorted and distracting, and it's going to prevent women from hearing what the Bible says about them that gives them their pure glory, their virtues and everything. And so I would like to, hear more men preaching about womanhood and talking about womanhood, and I'd like to hear more women address womanhood. Paul addresses womanhood several times in the Bible. In the book of Titus, in the book of 1st and 2nd Peter, you see him addressing womanhood. You see him addressing it in other epistles regarding the role of a woman. And it was never suppressive. It was never where they had to be so subordinate that they had no voice or identity. They were co-laborers with the husband, with the father. And so therefore, he raises them up, he elevates them, and shows them how they can be so impactful that the aged woman should be talking to the younger women. You understand? And so there's so much beauty to that. One of the greatest things that I always talk about my wife, she's an absolute phenomenal mother. She is like amazing as a mother. Phenomenal. Her attention to detail to our children, and I say this all the time, I could never be the person that I am without her being the person that she is in her womanhood as a mother and as a wife. So I totally understand God's blessing on my life is synonymous with first having her as my wife, as the mother of my children, to be able to do what I'm doing because of what she's doing in her role as a woman, which is absolutely amazing. But you don't hear that enough. You don't hear men speaking about it enough. You don't hear it. And when a woman does elevate it, there are some good women who do speak about womanhood in a very pleasant way, but they are very few, very few. Most of the time, as I think Reeeal said it either in the last episode or in the early part of this episode, she mentioned how when you hear them speak, it's like they're aggressive with trying to be identified. I don't have to just be the person that God has created you to be. You will be identifiable. Just be that person that God called you to be, whether it's in your womanhood or in your manhood. I don't have to make my manhood totally masculine to where I'm all brawn and no brains. You know what I'm saying? To make my identity. No, I don't need to do that. I just need to commit myself into the role He's designed me to be. Same thing with a woman. But when you hear women speak often, it's very aggressive, and they're trying to create an identity for themselves that's not as biblical as it should be.
That was a lot. A lot of information to take in.
He asked a question.
No. That's good. We definitely wanted to hear that perspective because I think it was needed, and I think it was needed to hear it from a pastor, right? A pastor who's saying, yeah, we don't preach enough about this. We don't preach. There's so many verses in here about women, about womanhood, and about how they should be, addressing and speaking to other women, as well as you see them. Paul talks about them co-laboring, even with the gospel message. But most of the time, the only time you see people preaching or teaching or doing these things are males, and so it may distort the minds of others, and that's probably why you get this. I'm not saying they're right, but that's probably why you get this like aggressive, angry, like, well, we can do it too, and it's not as if I don't understand, but like you said, I don't need to be extra in something because you got an ignorant person over here who doesn't understand that. I'm going to continue to be me, continue to be consistent in my devotion to God, and in due time, God will elevate me or put me around the people that I need to reach.
I have a question for
Good.
Renita. So, babe.
First lady.
Babe. She's babe to me. What would you tell you've been in this game for 20, we've been in this game for, well, I've been pastoring for close to 25 years, 26 years. You've been...
We've been married for 21.
I know we've been married for 21.
Okay, so 21 years you've been a first lady.
So, no, she's been my wife for 21 years.
That too.
Seeing all this, what happens if you saw a young lady being married to a pastor, and you see the kind of church she goes to, and you can see the possibility of her being caught into that stigma of that first lady role?
What advice would you...
Yeah, what would you say to her? How would you approach her, and what would you say to her?
First of all, there may be the option that she may not hear nothing come from me because I have a smaller church, so she might be like, what do you know about whatever?
True that. You don't even have a hat, I don't think, a first lady hat. But go ahead.
True, I don't.
Yeah.
I will ask her, the way that they're forming you to be a first lady, is this something that you want to do? Are you happy? And, depending on her answer, I'll be like, then why are you, or how would you want to be, a first lady? Those are questions that I'll ask her, I'll ask her if they're forming you to be that, and you don't want to be that way. Why are you doing those things, So I'll ask her those questions and just have a dialogue with her just to make her think of like, you don't have to do, you don't have to be that first lady the way they're forming you to be. You can be your own first lady. Now, whether or not you want to help these women in the church, will tell you how, you want to be that first lady. But this is not like, they are not ruling you. You don't have to be that way. That's what I will tell her.
So you would basically tell her she has the option of not being a first lady, but still being his wife.
No, I would tell her that she can be the first lady she wants to be.
Okay. Would you give her the option to say, or you don't have to be a first lady?
I think that'd be stepping over your boundaries.
I don't know how they would do that in their
I think
church
that'd be crossing the boundaries, because then you're
organization.
putting her in conflict with her husband.
Yeah.
You want to.
Like,
I'm assuming she
I would
want
tell
to
her-
boost her up as a woman. You know.
Yeah, and
What I'm
I'll tell her, if you have certain reservations about it, that you need to communicate that to your husband. You guys should have a dialogue as well, because y'all should both be on the same page. So.
Gotcha. Last question that I have. Do you feel like there is any peer pressure now of being a first lady?
Here in this church,
Just
or women in general.
Just in general. You, like right now, you've been doing it for 21 years. Do you feel like there's any peer, if you was to go to somebody else's church or that know
her,
you?
Does she have pressures of the concept of First Lady when we go out of town or we go to another church and they see her as the husband or the wife. I'm just getting the clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, being in here now, because I know if I ask that question
21 years now.
in the first 5 years, of course you'll be like, of course. But now, 21 years, do you still have like some kind of like, man, I gotta go sit up there, I gotta do this, or I gotta say something that I don't want to say? Like, do you feel like you have to be something that you're not?
Yeah, if I went to go visit the other churches and stuff like that, and the person, why don't you come sit up there? It's like usually I'm pretty stern, like, no, I'm okay, I'm sit right here. That, but I have no problem saying no to that. Say a few words. I don't really want to do that. I kind of opt to do that. But now I would say no. I don't feel those pressures because I'm older. I'm comfortable in who Reeeal is. Me sitting up there on the pulpit, me saying a few words isn't going to go what?
I didn't kind of hear him. Go ahead.
Is me doing those things is not going to like stop me from being who I am. So I don't feel like pressures like I did when I first got married. It was like, oh my God, it's like just anxiety of like
she would be terrified
to do all
terrified.
That.
What do I say, babe? What should I say?
I had to rehearse it in my mind and stuff like that. Nah, I mean, I got some stuff rehearsed.
Now you're just like, y'all never gave us anything anyways. I don't lose nothing now. 21 years of the game.
Like you had to be she'd be like, yo, what's the sequence? I give honor to God who's the head of my life, to the pastor, to the who else do I got to throw up in there? I'd be like, and just say to the whole pulpit, you're good. Yeah. and make sure you finish it. And to the saints of the Most High God. You get all that, you golden. You can say whatever you want afterwards. As long as you get that protocol straight, you're good.
I'm like, what's the order again? Like, what do I have to say? And
sheesh, protocol or something.
Because I wasn't like
churched.
I wasn't churched at all. Like I said, I went off and on, but I wasn't like, it wasn't embedded in me to know these things, the protocol of who to say what to what. I wasn't looking at the first ladies that intensely when I was younger. So like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna be when I go wrong. So I have to, remember all these things to say. That wasn't me. So therefore, when we got in those situations, I did have to ask them like, what is it? What is it? Okay, so we gotta say the pastor, the first lady, the deacons, the deaconess, and all those type of things. Like, I was like,
get it in order because you got bishops in the house, apostles.
Man, everybody who got a title. All right, next.
That's why you say the pulpit. You give honor to the pulpit, to the man of God of the house, to his wife, the first lady, and to all the saints of the Most High God. Once you say that, you good.
And it was like, I did it. Check.
Well,
crazy.
So, what do you like to be? Our last ending question. What do you like to be preferred to be called? First Lady Foreman or Reeeal? Sister Reeeal. Mm-hmm. And when anybody calls you First Lady now, do you just like, I know they're being nice.
And I roll my eyes in my head like, really? Like, I mean, I had an instance years ago, and I had little cousins that's known me since I was, they've been young. And they know me by my family nickname was Pooh. We were at a visiting church. And that's what they know me by. I'm not, So they were trying to get my attention. And another sister from the church was like, they noticed that my little cousin was calling me Pooh. And she was like, no, you don't dress her like that. You dress her first lady. And I had to kindly say, no, ma'am. They don't have to. That's my little cousin. She's known me since that's the only name she knows me by. So therefore, it is perfectly fine that she calls me Pooh. Like, there's no disrespect there. I know she's not calling me out of my name or something like that. There's no disrespect, but therefore I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing that you were at least able to like resonate in that usher lady's mindset that.
Probably one of the sisters or somebody like
or a sister
like
who was inspiring to be in your spot that hey, listen, there is no what you've been raised to believe is disrespect or respect really isn't nothing in the Bible. So while we'll respect this here in your church, understand, like, and I think sometimes we need it. I mean, it goes from hats in the church, all this kind of stuff that says disrespect or respect. And I think the more people just give a quick little statement and then go about their day in business, it at least resonates in their heart and mind. So hopefully you guys watching have not walked away from here thinking we're some anti people who don't care for women,
Jesus with all my heart.
womanhood. That you don't think that Renita, because we're calling her Renita, sister, or if we don't say sister Renita, look at this guy. Hey,
I'm kidding.
Back up. That you could at least see that it's no disrespect. We will still respect how you guys give it up at your church, but that we understand that there's genuine love in action and things in the text, not just a statement and a title. So with that being said, we want to thank you so much for joining the show for these 2 episodes. It's been a great perspective to gain from, First Lady.
So
Yeah, I just want to say something. When I got married to him, I was just like, I just want to live my life for Christ. I want my life to reflect what he's doing inside me and not through a title, I think more people respect me if how I live my life versus the title. So that's really how I always went by the First Lady, whatever like that. I just went by how I just want to live my life. I want to be approachable. I want somebody to be able to come up to me, or I'm able to come up to them. And with no pressure, no pressure. You having to call me this, you feel like you have to come to me in a certain way. No, I'm Renita. Come to me.
Facts. I got you. I'll keep that in mind. All right. Thank you for watching episode 34 of Reeeal Talk. Make sure you're on the lookout for episode number 35. Pastor Steve, you have anything to say?
I'm done.
All right. Be on the lookout. Episode 35. Have your notification bell clicked. Go get another subscriber.